Howdy-do, everybody. This is CT over the NYC Indian, and today we're going to be reviewing Adults Adopting Adults, Episode 3. This is going to be brought to you from an urban Native American perspective, a mixed perspective, and a secular perspective. So let's dive right on in. So this week we're going to start off with Kim and her mom, and the mom that raised her first adoptive mom, and she is just face down in the mattress. She's sobbing hysterically. She's absolutely upset because, you know, Kim is going to go through with this adoption process, and she feels hurt, she feels left out, and, you know, they start arguing, and it gets a little bit heated, and, you know, Kim starts saying to her again about, hey, how she was treated as a child by her and her adoptive father, and basically she just wasn't having it. She wants a new set of parents, and but it does seem like her mom is, you know, she still wants new parents for sure, but it seems like she's starting to have some second thoughts, basically. Like, you know, I don't know, like she was saying like, oh, I didn't really expect this to hurt her this much and stuff like that. But I mean, come on, what did you really think was going to happen? But, you know, the mom seems to be kind of in denial about whatever it was, whatever kind of maltreatment that Kim received, and she's not really talking about it. So I feel like the original adoptive mom is, I feel like there's just, like I said, you know, for last week's episode, I feel like there's more there. And I feel like it's probably some serious shite, if you know what I'm saying. So I want to know more about that before I'm really giving into this idea that, you know, Kim should not go through this process. I mean, it just seems a little messy. It's like her mom hasn't been there for her for so long, and I guess, I mean, yes, she raised her, she made sure she had a home and an education and clothes like that, or did she? I don't know, but maybe there were some things, some essential Maslow's, you know, basic needs that weren't filled, and that's what I'm trying to get to the root of, because I just don't understand, I don't understand necessarily why Kim is determined. I can understand maybe toying with the idea, it would be nice to have a mom, since my birth mom wasn't there for me and my adoptive mom wasn't there for me as much. But to actually, you know, actively pursue this particular process, I feel like there's just more there, and I want to know. So anyway, so now basically she feels like, okay, so it's like the next day or whatever later on. And Kim says that basically they're not speaking. So it looks like the 8-year separation is gonna probably continue. And her mom wanted her to consider to not do it, but I don't know. I'm telling you, she just looks too rough to me. I'm serious. I feel like that mother, she probably had a little hard life herself, okay? Because she is looking rough. All right, I want to know what happened. So anyway, now Kim is talking to Vicki. Vicki comes over and Vicki brings flowers. Oh, you know, she's so happy. But listen, Vicki, you're not fooling me, okay? You just want the tea. You want to know what happened between her and the mother, because Vicki sees the mom coming back into the picture almost like her competition, right? Like, no, she promised me those grandkids. We're already on track. We're already in the process. And Vicki really wants those grandkids. Now, I'm still curious. I'm less, okay. Even though this is a very unorthodox process, I still kind of get it on Kim's end. And it really starts with her birth mother. I mean, that's where the root of all of this comes from, right? I mean, it would have to be. And then you look over at Vicki. Vicki, I don't understand. I mean, I've had friends that, you know, have children that I absolutely just adore, you know, and, you know, maybe you babysit the kids or something like that, but to be that hell-bent on adopting children when you have 3 sons of your own. Now let's just say, okay, we're gonna go for odds here. Let's go for some crazy odds. Let's say 2 out of 3 of her children were infertile. Let's just say, I'm not saying that they are, but let's just, let's play the devil's advocate here. If 2 of her sons, let's say, couldn't have children, only 1 could. I mean, they're grown. Her boys look like well over 20. So I'm sure some kids are going to be, even if it was just that one son that was able to have children. I mean, I'm sure you're going to have grandchildren at some point. Vicky's not that old. So, like, I just don't really understand what it is about her that is so determined to do this adoptive process. Because for Kim, it seems like more like she wants a mom and she wants a grandma. Like, it's almost like, seems like half and half, but maybe not half and half. I feel like it's more for her and then also for her kids. Maybe like 60-40, like 60% she wants a mom, 40% she wants a grandparent, she wants a set of grandparents for her kids. But I don't know, like Vicki, I'm just not sure. So we have Carol and Derek and Bianca. So they go to the lawyers, and basically the lawyer is giving them the paperwork to complete for the adoption process. And this brings up some issues about Carol's ex-stepdaughter, which, I can understand in some ways, but at the same time, it's like she's your ex-husband's child. I think this is part of like Carol's thing. Like, she just likes to adopt people in general, no matter what. Like, I think she probably continued the relationship with her ex-husband's daughter as if they were still living all together. I don't know that they were all still living, or that they were ever all 3 living together at one point before, but it's obvious that the former stepdaughter is still actively a part of Carol's life. So, the lawyer's explaining, about how it's going to reflect, you're basically going to get a new birth certificate, and it's going to say, Carol and Derek's names on there. And it was like, wow. And it just was kind of like, it was kind of crazy when I heard it in that moment. I thought about it, and you could see the look on Bianca's face too, like, wow, I won't have my parents' name on there anymore. And I know, like, I kind of, like I said, in certain situations, I understand this kind of adoptive process in certain situations, but when you kind of sit there and you think about like looking at your paperwork and your birth parents just being completely erased. I mean, unless they were just complete shite, right? But if they were okay as parents, or maybe not the best parents, but you still have some kind of love for them, I guess that would be really strange. Yeah, like, it's so funny. Like, that was the one moment out of the whole episode that really kind of like sat with me, just thinking about that and seeing the reaction on her face. But they're just basically letting her know that in the state of New York, they do let the father know, whatever surviving birth parent know, but he has no right to contest or interfere in the process in any way. So it looks like it's gonna happen. Like, they're gonna go through with it. I mean, Bianca, she's not stupid, okay? She wants to improve her life. Now, I think that it seems like in her case, and I think it kind of looks like, oh, Bianca just wants the money because they're obviously like an established, upper middle class couple. But I mean, Bianca did come from complete poverty, foster care system, and she still managed to get into school. And I think that says a lot, that she really, I mean, that's really overcoming the odds, right? I mean, you can wind up in the foster care system, and things can be very downhill from there, depending on like what kind of parents fostered you previously and things like that. I mean, this is just based off of like accounts I've heard from people that have been in the foster care system. So she has done a lot, and I think the fact that she said that she aged out of the foster care system, so was she 21 or so when that happened? So unlike people who don't have adoption as a part of their life, like legal adoption, we tend to think of adulthood ending at 18. But when you're constantly in that system, then to think of yourself in your 20s and still needing or wanting or having a new set of parents, I guess is not that foreign of an idea, I guess. I mean, I don't know, like, since in the foster care system, you'll age out at what, 21 or something like that. I don't know if that's just like for healthcare benefits and things like that, or if that means that there's still like some room to be adopted. If you guys know anything about adoption, and specifically in New York State, because that's where they are, they're in the city of Binghamton, and I have no idea, you know, exactly what are the parameters, what are the cutoff for, what's the cutoff for someone who's, you know, in their early 20s in the like state adoption process. That it's very interesting. So, I mean, if it was just Carol adopting this girl, and I could say, okay, looking at Carol's background and looking at Bianca's background, okay, it makes sense. Carol is obviously a nurturer. She's obviously, that is literally who she is. You can just tell, right? And Bianca has for so long been in a path where she has needed stability, parental stability. So these two make sense. That husband, I don't know about that. Now, he didn't do anything this episode that creeped me out, but no. I need a little bit more, because just the way he was like really like, I mean, he was like very adamant with his brother on the phone about, you know, like his very upset about his mom's disapproval of his decision to go through this process, and the way he was just so like, well, I don't care, you know, she's got to respect me, you know, like he was a little too piped up to be talking about his mother in that way. So I already know there is more to this. Is more to this, allegedly. Okay, we got to throw that in there, but there's more to this. I need to know a little bit more. Now we have Danny again, just being his usual self. I mean, it's so gross. I just can't take it. And of course, you know, Christy is once again crying off in the corner by herself, like in tears, and, you know, basically talking about like how she feels the pressure to take care of Ileana. I mean, that's another thing that we haven't discussed. Okay, a woman who has no children, has accepted the fact that she's not going to have any children, has lived her life accordingly, basically, enjoying the freedoms and things that you have when you don't have children. And now all of a sudden her philandering husband is going to bring in this young girl who she will have to take care of. She doesn't know the first thing about taking care of another human. She said she doesn't know anything about diapers. She doesn't like diapers. The only baby she's been taking care of is that husband of hers, okay? And, you know, and she feels like she's got to be upbeat and smile and stuff like that. So, you know, what's Ileana supposed to take from this? You know, she can obviously see that there's some kind of tension. She doesn't have to be born and raised in this country to be able to pick up on the signals, right? So, yeah, he's just being disgusting as usual. And, you know, she's just like distraught. And he's just over there just excited, just giddy, just elated, just rolling over in his own little festival of love over there. He is just so gross. So now we have our new person on this show, Prince Frederick, and apparently he's a German prince. I didn't look him up. I guess I'm just gonna take his word for it. And he was married to Zsa Zsa Gabor for 30 years. I didn't know that. And he had the whole Gabor family, like Zsa Zsa and Ava and all oh God. Man, listen, some of you all do not remember Green Acres, but Zsa Zsa Gabor, she was that it girl in Hollywood for a long time, right? And I thought that was really interesting because I remember they showed little clips of him earlier, but I didn't know he was married to her. But anyway, It's something having to do with her estate or her trust or something like that, where it's going to wind up going to the city of Los Angeles if he doesn't have an heir to pass it down to. So apparently, the prince has been out there, honey, strolling them streets trying to find an adoptive son. He's had 5 already. So his buddy, I don't remember his name, very funny guy, was like, yeah, he's just, he's out there, he's eccentric, and we definitely got to see his personality. I mean, honey, he had on his little Gucci hat, and he had on his little designer from head to toe, and, his glasses. You couldn't tell him anything, okay? Prince Frederick has been living probably in Los Angeles for a very long time, and he's just kind of, he's like, what was he saying? Something about like, before the Kardashians, we were the Kardashians, like all dripped in ice and, like flexing and all this stuff. So he is a character. So I'm glad they put somebody like this on here. This is a whole nother twist. A prince, like, so, I mean, will the person definitely inherit the title? Will they really be part of the German monarchy? I mean, this is very, very fascinating. So, I want to see who this guy finds and this time, because he said that he used to literally he just find people outside walking around, and that's how he would, like, recruit people to be his adoptee. I mean, what would you do in that situation if you just didn't have any kids and you had a particular amount of wealth, and maybe wealth that was acquired not just through your own lineage, but also wealth through your spouse? Because Jaja, I don't think she was broke, right? So I'm sure that little trust that she has is I have no idea how much is worth, but I'm sure that's a nice little chunk of change. And I mean, hell, Green Acres was running well into the 80s, actually early 90s. So I mean, residuals, and she's done other movies and stuff. So I mean, what would you do in that case? Because I mean, I can really, really, really understand not wanting your money to go to the city, but I mean, there are like charitable causes, and you could create a foundation maybe, and like, house, young homeless people like Ileana. Like, there's all kinds of little projects and stuff I feel like you could do with your money. Not a trust necessarily, because I understand that I guess he doesn't have access to that, but maybe any other money that he may get, or maybe he's from one of those royal families where it's all about the title and you don't get any like stipend. I don't know. I have no idea. Listen, do not have me on here lying about the Western European, monarchy system. I have no idea how that works, okay? I just have heard through like the British monarchy, they don't get a lot of actual money, but I feel like, how can they not get money? I mean, don't even Meghan and Harry, they still got to have something, aside from her acting career, like just from his side, even if he's cut off. Didn't he have some kind of money from before? I don't know. So that's so weird, right? Now this is one of those adoption situations where I'm like, now look, why don't you just enjoy whatever golden years you have left on this planet, hang out with your buddy who obviously has some sense, and just you live out your days being just an eccentric German prince living in LA, right? Why do you need to find somebody to do this? I'm just not sure. I guess he's researched every other way. He just does not. Bottom line, he does not want that money going to. He does not want it going to the city of Los Angeles, apparently. So, yeah, we'll have to see what kind of candidate he picks. Like, do they have to be German like him, or can they be like Austrian like Ileana? But Ileana's a girl, so and that's another thing. His heir, does his heir have to be, does his heir have to be a male? Because if he can have a female heir, then he could take Ileana. Ileana's from Austria. I mean, is she like ethnically German as well? I mean, I'm guessing she is. She might not be. But why doesn't he like adopt Ileana? Hey, listen. A&E, are you listening? That's a new show right there. That's a spinoff, okay? Now don't you go doing that without giving me credit. So yeah, we'll see what's going on with Prince Frederick. I cannot say his name. With Prince Frederick on next week's episode. So now Christy, who is completely fed up at this point, decides to go meet up with her friend and tell her what's been going on. So the friend already knows about all the infidelities and stuff like that. And, you know, people just want to know, like, you know, what are you thinking? Are you thinking about leaving this guy or whatever? And she seems like she's still at the venting stage. I mean, even though she sounds like she's really frustrated, I don't think she's really at her wit's end yet. I think it's gonna take more of his abuse for her to hit her breaking point and be like, you know what, I've had enough. And you know, they know this is on national television. Like, you know, it's gonna bounce back. You're gonna get so much more negative feedback from people after this airs. Now, I have no idea. Are they still, maybe now that the show is airing and, you know, maybe they're broken up. I hope so. I hope she has left him. But, you know, I do still wonder about where Ileana is, like, just like right now, today. Is she in the States? Did she go back to Austria? Like, what happened with that situation? I mean, you know, well, we're still in the beginning of the season, but, you know, it really does make you wonder. So, you know, maybe her friends can help her, you know, get convinced that this is a terrible situation, and you know, he just doesn't care about you, and he's going to be out there on the road driving, trying to pay these bills that he's racking up, taking care of Ileana. So now we have Derek and Carol and Bianca having a celebratory dinner, as well as a birthday dinner for Carol. And they give Carol, or Bianca gives Carol, a gift and a present. And then the topic of Carol's former stepdaughter comes up. And, you know, it almost is like Carol feels kind of guilty, you know, and Bianca is sitting there. She's like, yeah, well, you know, it's my adoption, like, you know. Bianca's more like, you know, I hope she doesn't try to get my way kind of thing. But, you know, Bianca, why would she care about, you know, what the stepdaughter thinks, or the former stepdaughter? And another question is, how active is Carol in this ex-stepdaughter's life? How often do they see each other? How often do they speak? You know, sometimes in families, even when parents get divorced, sometimes the bond that children make with parents or parent-like figures still continues beyond the breakup of the parents. And that's obviously what happened in this case. But, you know, is there some jealousy there? It definitely feels like the ex-stepdaughter feels like you're coming in and swooping in and taking everything that that probably should have been mine if my dad hadn't did what he did. And then that's when Carol starts to recall about why, you know, the story of, you know, when Carol was married to her ex-husband, and how she tried to help another student, moved her in, and, you know, of course her ex-husband starts to fool around with the young woman, and the stepdaughter was there to witness that. So she's looking at Bianca with the side eye, like, who's this little thing coming up in here, not only ruining the family, but, you know, taking on, like, you know, actual inheritance benefits and things like that. So, you know, it would be more interesting if they showed the ex-stepdaughter. That would be great. Now, that would kind of make the show a little bit more interesting, right? Because it gives you a little bit more, you know, a little bit more background. Because, I mean, even if you still have that connection with your former stepdaughter, you are still not married to her father anymore and entitled to move on with your life and do whatever you please, you know, with whatever type of legal processes that you want. Not to say the stepdaughter doesn't feel like she has no right, but, you know, that it's to the point where, you know, Carol's considering her feelings that much at a celebratory dinner. They're supposed to be celebrating, right? So yeah, there's I think it's probably just the lack of kind of severing ties with that relationship. I think Carol just had no interest in severing the tie. I think she just stayed very close with this girl, so she just feels probably a little bit threatened by Bianca coming on in. And this is kind of the theme that we're seeing, with some of the other families, like, the old family members are like looking like, how are you having this other person come in? And the funny thing is that on this show, now that I think about it, so that former stepdaughter of Carol, as well as the adoptive mom of Kim, we're talking two non-blood relatives that feel very, very sort of attached and almost, sort of possessive towards their family member due to the fact that they are deciding to adopt someone else. So that's kind of interesting. It seems to be we're getting more static from the non-blood relatives than we are the actual blood relatives of these people. So yeah, that's interesting. So come on, Annie, are you going to show this girl? Let's get it popping. I want to see. I want to hear from her. So we're back with Christy, and she is talking some hard numbers. Okay. $3,000 they spent for something, and then she starts going on and saying that they had spent 4 times the $3,000 since Ileana has been there. So they spent 12 grand already. Like, are you serious? 12 grand? Like, this baby is gonna possibly be born early, and the girl is not insured, so they're gonna be paying out-of-pocket hospital bills for a delivery and possibly a NICU stay. And NICU stay can include surgeries listen, NICU babies, they have all kinds of surgeries, like heart surgeries, stomach surgery, like all kinds of surgeries. So I mean, it can be extremely expensive. I have no idea where he's going to get all this money from. So we'll find out all this next week. But did you guys see, like, for the scenes for the next week where they're saying that Ileana is going to only be able to stay for 70 days? I mean, what was he thinking? Did he not research that a little bit better? I mean, did he think she was going to come over here and they can get the adoptive process done all in 70 days and then she'd be able to, I mean, was he not working with an attorney to begin with? Could he not afford an attorney because he was too busy spending money on other stuff? And what about the Prince Frederick? Do we think he's going to find his next adoptee in the Gucci store? Let's talk. All right, I'll see you next week. Thanks for stopping by and listening. Che pisa la cho. Take care, everybody.